Hello, and welcome to this flipped video about homophones. First, what is a homophone? A potentially helpful strategy when you come across a word you don't know is to break it down into parts. Many words in English come from Greek or Latin roots. For example, homo, the first part of homophone, comes from the Greek root homo, which means same. You see this root in other words of the English language, like homogeneous, which means of the same kind. The second part of the word homophone is phone, which is a Greek root meaning sound. It's in other words related to sound, like microphone or symphony. When you put the roots homo and phone together, you get same sound. So, homophones are words with the same sound but different meanings and different spellings. Examples include there, and there. All three theirs have the same sound, but they're each spelled differently and mean different things. So why learn about homophones? Well, they're commonly misspelled in student writing, and sometimes spell check won't mark them as wrong. So learning homophones will help you to spell better. Now let's look at some homophones that are commonly confused with each other. First, there's which and which. The first which, that starts with WH, asks a question about choosing between different options, like which flavor of ice cream do you want, chocolate or vanilla? The second which has a T in the middle and refers to a scary woman on a broomstick. How can you remember the difference between these two? You can remember that the first which is a question word because it starts with WH, the way many question words do, like who, what, and where. You can remember the second which because the T in it kind of looks like someone with a witch's hat on a broomstick. Next is where and where. The first where refers to the location of something, like where is the chicken? You can remember that it's a question word because it starts with WH, the way many question words do. The second where means to have clothes or accessories on, like the dog should wear its collar, or to break down something, like these students wear me out. You can remember it because unlike the first where, which is an adverb, this one is a verb, referring to an action. Also, unlike the first where, this one has an A in it. You can think of A for action. Next are the three theirs. The first there, ending in ERE, refers to a place, like the ball is over there. The second there shows something belongs to a group, like that is their toy. You can remember it because it's the only there with an I in it, which you can think of as a person owning something. The third there is a contraction for they are, like they're going to the store. You can remember it because it's the only there with an apostrophe in the middle of it, which means that it can be broken down into two words. There are several other homophones that are contractions. For example, its. The first its has an apostrophe in it, which means it's a contraction of it is. For example, it's a filthy animal. The second its has no apostrophe in it, so it refers to something belonging to another thing. For example, its name is Bob. The its shows that the name belongs to the animal pictured. If you're ever unsure if you have the right its in a sentence, replace what you have with it is and see if the sentence makes sense. If the sentence does make sense, then you want to use the its with an apostrophe. So we just had the sentence, it's a filthy animal. Let's plug in it is and see if it works. It is a filthy animal. That still works, so we know that the its with an apostrophe is the right one to use there. Now let's plug it is into the sentence, its name is Bob. It is name is Bob. That doesn't make sense. So we don't want to use the it's with an apostrophe in that sentence. Here we have another contraction homophone, your and your. The first your has an apostrophe in it. So we know that it's a contraction and can be broken down into two words. You are. The example sentence here is, you're reading a book. The second your refers to something belonging to you, like your dress is pink. If you're not sure which your to use, do the same trick we did with its. Plug you are into the sentence and see if it makes sense. If it does, then you want to use the your with an apostrophe. Here we have another contraction homophone, were. Take a moment to review the differences between were and its homophone based on what you've just learned about contraction homophones. Here we have another contraction homophone, whose. Take a moment to review the differences between whose and its homophone based on what you've just learned about contraction homophones. Another set of homophones are here and here. The first here refers to a place, like your book is here inside the desk. One way to remember that this here refers to a place is that it ends in ERE, like other place words, there and where. The second here means to perceive sound through the ear, like I can hear the music coming out of your headphones. You can remember this here because it ends in ear. Next we have the three twos. The first two is the only one with a W in it and refers to the number two, like not one, but two cats are on a scooter. The second two has two O's and means also, like can I play the game too? Or an excessive amount, like it is too hot outside. The last two with only one O is for everything else, like going in a direction. The alien is traveling to Earth. You can remember that most of the time you'll use TO, and you'll only use TOO when you're trying to say also or an excessive amount. Next are affect and effect. These words are confusing because each of them is both a noun and a verb. However, to keep it simple, just remember that affect with an A is mostly used as a verb that means to influence, like the game will affect our standings in the league, while effect with an E is mostly used as a noun, meaning result, like the politician misrepresented the effect of his policies. Next are then and than. The first then has an E in it and is used when you're talking about time. Like what happens next in a sequence, like I ate 3 pies and then I fell asleep. Or what happens during a certain time period, like I did a lot back then. The than with an A in it is used to make a comparison, like my penmanship is much better than Deborah's. Since I'm comparing my handwriting to Deborah's, I use than with an A. Next are past and past. The first past ends in ed and is the past tense of the verb to pass, like he passed the last card before reaching the checkered flag. The second past ends in t and can be a noun, adjective, preposition, or adverb, but not a verb. Next are whether and whether. The first whether is used for choices, like I don't know whether to go to the party or stay at home. You can remember that this whether is for choices because it starts with WH, just like the which that is for choices. The second whether refers to the condition of the atmosphere outside, like the weather is beautiful today. Let's go for a walk. You can remember this whether because it has an A and it relates to atmosphere, which starts with an A. There are many other homophones in English, far too many to name. However, we will review more briefly the other homophones students are most likely to mix up in their writing. First are accept and accept. The first accept starts with a and is a verb. It means to agree to take something, like do you accept credit cards? You can remember it because accept and agree both start with a. The second accept starts with ex and is a preposition, meaning not including. You can remember it because ex is a prefix that means excluding. Next are bear and bear. Take a moment to review the differences between them, like the placement of the E in each word. Next are break and break. Take a moment to review the differences between them, like the placement of the E in each word. Then there are the three buys. You can remember the one with a U in it means to purchase because both buy and purchase have U's in them. Remember that the buy that means farewell ends with an E, and the shortest buy is used for everything else. Next are one and one. Take a moment to review the differences between them, like the placement of the O in each word. Then there are principal and principal. The first principal is the only one with an A in it and refers to the highest, most powerful person in a group. For instance, the principal in our school is the highest person at our school. You can remember this principal because it ends in pal, like a friend, which you can associate with a nice principal. The other principal that ends with ple refers to a virtue, like honesty or integrity. Next are through and through. The first through is the past tense of the verb throw, which you can tell because they look similar. An example sentence is, they threw the basketball. Notice because it's a verb, it is receiving the action of a noun. The second through is not a verb, but rather a preposition that means coming in one side and out the other, like the basketball went through the hoop. The last pair we'll go over are allowed and allowed. You can remember that the first one means to read out loud because it has the word loud in it. Thanks for watching. Please complete one of the practice activities and then take the post test.